Call the roll.
Ball.
Present.
Jensen. Maroney.
Here.
Scott. Zierden.
Present. All right, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Can I get an approval or amendment of the agenda?
I'll approve the agenda as written. Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll open the open forum. Does anyone have anything they want to bring forth?
Jerry Schroden, Breezy Point Timeshare. I was reading through the minutes of the June 26th council workshop, and I saw there something that caught my eye. They're talking a little bit about recusing council members on some votes and stuff like that. I find that a little bit alarming because typically when you have a small board, an abstention is actually a no vote. And if we have one particular council member that doesn't want something to happen, and he's successful in getting somebody to abstain, essentially, you can destroy almost any project in the city, whether it be Bushman Road because a council member lives on the road, or it'd be updating a ballpark for Little League Baseball because somebody's either a coach or has a kid in a program. When you become elected in a small board, you essentially are responsible for all subject matter. And I think abstentions are, other than for monetary reasons where you're the contractor or something that puts you into the money part of the chain, I do believe it's the duty of council members to vote on all subjects, not just the ones that are politically fun to vote on. So, when you get into making policy, it always goes by majority of the council. It doesn't go by majority of the voters. So unless you change bylaws of the city and all kinds of other stuff, which I don't know if you can do as a city, I know boards can do that. It's always a majority of the members present. It's not a majority of the ones that vote. So be careful.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and just comment on that. We are not allowing anyone to abstain unless there is a direct conflict. So we have made that clear, especially during, I think, Parks and Rec. I think we maybe allowed it one time, not knowing, but we're not allowing that unless there is a direct conflict.
Okay, yeah, that's good, yeah, because the minutes just said it was discussed. It didn't say it was action taken.
We discussed it because we wanted to make sure that everybody was on board. If you're elected, that is your duty to vote, and we're not letting you out that easy. So
Because it didn't say that in the minutes, and that's what piqued my interest.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Anybody else? All right, we will close the forum. On to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business. Chair Chansky?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first thing for new business tonight is the 2022 audit report, and here to present that to you is Mary Reedy with Clifton Larson Allen, who is our auditors. And Daniel, do you want to give Mary the... Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for having me tonight. A little bit later than last year, obviously, here in about February last year. So the reason for that change is the financial statements. You went from cash basis to full accrual. So I kind of wanted to walk you through the financial statements just quickly. I know it'll be a lot, but they're not going to be similar to last year, so I just kind of wanted to give you a brief overview. So we'll start with the bound book that David gave you. And the first big change there is page 5. So page 5 and 6, these are actually new statements. They were not in your cash basis ones to begin with. So page 5 now is your statement and net position. So you have governmental activities and your business type activities. And within there, you can see it has everything full accrual here. So the top is your assets, right? Some of your receivables, and then your capital assets. So that's a big chunk of the change. There's your capital assets. Pension related, you now have to book para related items. So that's going to be on there as well. And then if you go under your liability, so now you have your accounts payable, anything that wasn't paid as of the end of the year. Accrued liabilities is going to be your wages and anything related to that, comp abs, things like that. And then long-term liabilities, you actually paid off your debt, so this is just going to be your comp abs here. And then pension related, your net pension liability, so I get asked this a lot. No, it's not what you physically owe. You keep making payments as you have been to para, and until that liability for that, right, of all of those people that are getting paid right now, they're underfunded. So this is just your share of it. They're not saying you have to pay it back. You just keep making your normal payments. If this were ever to get 100% or overfunded, you would actually book an asset. It would then flip. So it is more of just a disclosure for you there. Down at the bottom is your net position. So net investment in capital assets. Basically, what do you have in assets within the city? So governmental is going to be more of your vehicles, buildings, things like that. Your business type activities is your sewer. So it's under the ground. Okay, so the next page, page 6 and 7, just breaks it out a little bit differently. Expenses is your far left. You can see the categories there, and then sewer, your expenses. And then we categorize the revenues that come in, what they are. So charges for services help pay for those. And then down at the bottom is general revenue, so taxes, kind of to help pay for all of those expenses. And then any miscellaneous items, change in that position, and then of course we had the change in accounting principle, so you'll see that line next year, that'll go away. We'll just report it as what was prior year. Okay, so then if you go to page 8 and 9, you're kind of used to seeing this, except now instead of just cash and investments, you have all of your receivables, right? So this is more day-to-day operations. The first statements kind of gave you an overview, the capital assets, everything. This one takes all of that long-term assets and liabilities away, just your short-term, what's receivable, due from other governments, any prepaids, then your liabilities, accounts payable, accrued liabilities, any wages unpaid at the end of the year, your unavailable taxes received within more than 60 days. And then your fund balances here. So non-spendable is going to be any prepaid items there. Restricted, cemetery, obviously, you know, that has to stay within cemetery. Committed, anything that the council has deemed to be committed. You can see most of that is going to be in your capital fund there. And then unassigned is really what's left over to pay for normal operations there. And that's going to be all in your general fund. Okay, so then if you go to page 10, this is a reconciliation that takes those balances that we just looked at on 8 and 9, and it starts with your fund balance, and then it adds in or subtracts out everything that gets you to that government-wide statement, the first statement that we looked at. Okay. Page 11 and 12, again, you're used to seeing this. It's going to be revenues and expenditures here, a little bit different wording. So now within these categories is what truly is for the year, right? Because we booked the payable, we booked the receivables. So everything related to 22 is now recorded in these financial statements. If you look way down at the bottom, we did have your change in accounting standards. That will go away next year. So we did adjust it by about negative 8,800 there, you can see. But again, going forward, those should then go away and we can just go as if it never changed. Page 13 then takes that change in fund balance that we just looked at and brings you up to the change in net position of those front financial statements, kind of the ins and outs of how you get there. Your biggest change here is your capital outlay. So what did you convert to capital assets? We take it out of expenses. Depreciation expense we add back in. So now we're depreciating those assets. Repayment of your bond principal, we take it out of expenses and reduce your liability. So now, you did pay that off, so that goes to zero. Deferred inflows, just offset those two, and then you get to your change in net position. Okay. So then page 14 is your proprietary funds. So your sewer fund here, again, with the enterprise fund, they are always full accrual like they are in the front of the statement. So the front of the statements and these statements will be exactly the same. So when you look at that, you can see all of your long-term assets and liabilities there. Page 15 then shows you kind of just a little bit different and more detail of your revenues and expenditures here. Gives you your net position. And then we added page 16, your cash flow. So with this proprietary fund, right, there's some depreciation expense and everything in there that really isn't cash flow. So when you look at this one is good to say, okay, are we meeting and producing cash within the sewer fund? So my biggest thing to look at is your operating activities, right? So you have a positive 71,000. So you are charging enough from customers to pay for your operating expenses there. Then when you look, your capital related, so you only purchased about 43,000 in assets, and your taxes, special assessments, all of those were more than what you paid there. Investment earnings, unfortunately, this year was a loss. Normally, you'll see that come in as positive once that market changes again. Okay, so that was a brief overview, a little bit of changes there that you're not quite used to. The notes did get longer, so the notes then support those numbers that we just looked at. Definitely, if you want to, you can look at that. And then I think way in the back, we still do the budget to actual statements back there. I think page 46. You'll see that changed as well. Budget to actual there. And then it goes through your cemetery, EDA, and then your TIF fund as well. Okay. So any questions on that before I move to the presentation? It'll take a little bit to get used to, but David and I can also answer any questions that you guys have later too, if it comes up.
I have no questions at this time.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so then we'll go to the PowerPoint. Sorry. And we'll go through here, we'll get into some of the numbers, and then feel free to stop me at any time too if you have questions. So the agendas go over the audit results, the financial results, and then any key issue or summary items that came. So we did have an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statement. So now that you're full accrual, it's just a clean audit opinion across the board. Everything's done in accordance with GAAP there. Compliance and internal control, 2 material weaknesses. We have these each year. Segregation of duties, obviously, just with your size. And then we did draft the bound financial statements there. So fairly common for a city of your size. What helped is usually you have an audit adjustment finding too, but you had the other firm come in and help with this adjustment. So it did go very smooth, much better than probably we could have done. So it was nice to have that help there. We did have one finding with the Minnesota legal compliance finding, did not obtain an IC-134 form. This is very common. We've let David know kind of the statutes for that, and he'll get it going forward. It is all jobs. There's no minimum, there's no base. If you get somebody coming in here, they have to basically fill out that form. Okay. So these couple of slides here are going to be new, government-wide revenue, so nothing really to compare to, right, because it's first year of implementation. So just kind of in a nutshell, where's most of your money coming in, and then where is it being spent? Remember, in your government-wide expenses, you have depreciation, and you don't have your bond payment in there. So a little bit different shift there. The next one is your governmental funds revenue. So we've had this in the past. Majority of your coming in is 82% of property taxes there. You don't get a lot of local government aid, so you're going to see this be a little bit larger than most other cities. But it is 82% there, intergovernmental at 4%, and then your interest on deposits and investments did come in at a loss. Hopefully that will turn back around in '23. Okay, so then where did that revenue go out? Here you can see pie chart, general government, public safety, biggest pieces there. Your debt service did increase significantly, right? You went from a $200,000 payment to $570 just to get it paid off. Next year, you'll see that go to 0. And then capital outlay last year was a lot larger. This year, you didn't have as much projects going on either. Okay. So just a bar chart, kind of see where you're at. So with that shift, you spent a lot of capital outlay last year. You'd think the expenditures would go down, but then you had the bond payment. So those basically net. That's why you're seeing that very similar there. Revenues decreased a little bit from last year, but a lot of that probably is due to your investment income, that negative. Okay. So months of expenditures in general fund. So even though you are full accrual, the state still wants you to have enough reserves, right, to pay until you get your taxes coming in. So about 5 months there, you're at 7 right now, so you're above target there. Not a big change from last year at all either. So your pie chart for general fund revenues here, general fund took about a $17,000 loss on the investments. Taxes came in at about $200,000 compared to last year, so a little bit of shift there. The expenditures going out, again, you're going to see that shift. Capital outlay was about 20% last year. Public safety was about 35%, and general government up 20%. So just depending on what projects you have going on kind of skews this pie chart as well. And that's why we like to do the bar chart too, so you can see in total year over year expenditures. You can see we talked about that decrease in capital outlay. You did have a transfer out, about $688,000 went to debt service to help pay for that, and then your revolving capital there. So ended with a fund balance of $1.7 million there. We did restate, dropped it about $19,000 to book your accruals there. Okay. So debt service, here obviously expect the large increase in expenditures. Next year that will go down to 0. I know you'll still be collecting like delinquent taxes and stuff, but when all is said and done, that money is, now that you have it paid off, you're eligible to kind of use that as deemed necessary. So council will be able to direct that of where that money should go. Okay, your revolving capital fund here, fund balance of about $3.7 million, really sitting in there for any projects that come up. Had a decrease in the investment earnings there. Used to track all of your capital projects, so any project that you do will run through here. You did transfer in about $416,000 from the general fund there. We restated fund balance by about $4,300 here. Okay. So cemetery fund, again, pretty similar to last year, a little bit decrease in revenues there you can see, and just a $29 adjustment, and fund balance of about $209,000 left in there. Your EDA here, revenues coming in from taxes, expenditures similar. It's kind of skewing, right? Because the chart looks so large, but it's only $3,000 of expenses there when you look at that. Fund balance of about $1,500, so sitting okay there, and then restated about $55 there. So sewer fund operations, a little bit of shift here. Operating revenues didn't change a lot. We did book your receivable, but not a big difference because we went back and adjusted last year as well. Operating expenditures, you're going to see a large increase is your depreciation, $241,000 there. Okay, so now going forward, that will be fairly consistent there too. Income or loss, you had a loss of about $152,000, but overall you're increasing cash about $93,000 there. We talked about the cash flow from operating activity, and then your net investment in capital assets just shy of $4 million there. Okay. Next one, the city did pay off the debt, so debt-free. This will go away next year. We won't have anything to report there. Cash increase, we talked about that in the sewer fund, 93,000. Governmental funds, about 446,000 there. Financial statements are required to be submitted to the state auditor's office. That was done along with the form that was due June 30th. We did meet that deadline. TIF district had revenue about 10,000, payments made about 6,000, ended with your fund balance about 3,000 there. Financial stability general fund had a decrease of about 28,000, but when you look at that overall, still healthy. Net transfer out about 686,000 we talked about. Debt service fund ended with about 291,000 there of fund balance. Revolving capital increase about 404,000. Sewer fund ability to cash flow projects, when you look at that, you have about 4.1 million sitting in there. Expenses about 605. Okay. So I didn't know if there are any follow-up questions.
No?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Even with being full accrual, just recommend you can keep, day-to-day operations the same, and then at year end, we just kind of adjust it as needed, so.
Do you have anything to add?
The only thing I have to add, Madam Mayor, is first of all, thank you to Mary and her team. They're awesome as usual. And for also working with us with our transition with finances, not just accrual, but also having the gap in the finance specialist for a while and being willing to push off our audit for a little bit so we could be ready.
Yeah.
So hopefully next year we'll not have that problem. We can go back to our regular scheduled programming.
Yep.
So,
We like to get them in and out. It's a little close this year, but
yep.
yeah, it was worth the wait, so.
Perfect.
And then also, last thing, I just also again just thank the council for allowing us to work with Abdo. They were lifesavers in this, and they were awesome, and especially in getting us transitioned to the accrual. If we had done that ourselves, it probably would not have gone well. So,
There were a few times we were like, wow, we're really glad they hired Abdo.
Good.
so I think, Madam Mayor, I think the only thing we have left is I think we would appreciate a formal motion to accept the 2022 audit report.
Also move?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next on new business, night to unite. This was kind of my thing that
I'll let you handle it, Madam Mayor.
yeah. I kind of brought it up just because I went to last year's, and you can attest to how fun it is, right, to plan it. And I just thought that this year it would be nice to direct the Parks and Recs Committee to try to help plan it so that we can add more to it. So whether that's more, just more for the kids to do or more for people to do, or just helping out the department plan it. So it was more of just being an extra set of hands and ideas. Do you have any? What's your process usually in party planning?
I am not an experienced party planner. And I can't speak for Chief Sandell. I did talk to him a little bit about this earlier in the week, as far as dedicating monies and stuff. Really, the only expenditures that we have or liabilities would be food and refreshments and things like that. Otherwise, the displays from the public safety organizations obviously are no charge. He's working on planning and inviting all of those people. Over and above that, our needs would probably be, volunteers to help man the refreshment distribution and set up and tear down and things like that.
Okay. I think that I just thought too at the city, we have our butterfly event, but we really don't plan a lot as a city. So I thought it might be a good opportunity for us to be involved in another event that we could help plan. So again, more of just giving the Parks and Rec some direction and helping them out with that. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine to ask for volunteers and those who can attend, and any committee that really can do it, but might be a little late to the party on getting them to do more for this year's, but if we can ask them to volunteer, that'd be great. I know it's always been a great event. We get a lot of community donations. We get people coming in to help out, so it's always a great event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. If others want to contribute, and I think Parks is the right place for it probably, and I think if they can work with, Joe and Chief Sandell and
He said he wanted help, so
Yeah.
he would appreciate.
Yeah, I don't
he
wanna
would very
step on
much
your toes, but yeah, if you
No,
got-
he said he would very much appreciate help planning it because he's also not much of a party planner. So I think they just thought it would, more hands on deck would make it a bigger event, and so.
The one question I have is we have no funds budgeted for this event, so what does Help Planet mean?
I think, well, when is the next part? That's on,
The week from today.
yep. So if there are any additional ideas that they come to the table with that would cost anything, I mean, I don't think that it would be so much of an amount that we wouldn't be able to, approve that, whether that would be you. I don't think it needs to come back to us.
Well, in that situation, I'd want a motion from the council of kind of giving a cap. If there's additional things that the committee comes up with that we can feasibly do in a month's time.
Yeah,
There probably should be a cap, or at least guidelines of, we're not gonna spend
dollar amount, you
$10,000.
mean?
You're not gonna spend $10,000 on
Right.
this. But I think that would help, at least even just helping to guide the committee of like, this is what the council's kind of giving you to work with, depending on what ideas you have.
right. I don't even know what they typically
Wouldn't even have
cost.
an idea. I know, I mean, it's been a successful event, and I don't think the city has contributed. We've had many community members, businesses that have contributed in the past, and we're very grateful for that. And I know times get hard, so I don't know if the event needs an additional $500 to approve such expenses, to bring additional activities or food or whatever might not have been donated, to allow that expense.
Maybe 1,000. I mean, we don't have to spend it, but I think that if there was, again, ideas on what to bring in or,
Yeah,
I don't really have an idea of cost. I mean, I have no idea. Like 500 maybe seems appropriate. 1,000 might be a bit much for this year, maybe. I don't know if we could, maybe if Parks was involved, we could kind of get a closer idea of like.
Yeah,
what
we can
the
get a closer
cost would be.
idea.
Yeah, we
and
can
then-
ask
And then
them.
we're gonna be obviously talking tonight more about the budget process. Maybe in the budget process, we talk about, maybe doing something more substantial next year as well.
right?
Right.
I'm assuming we have $500.
You have $500.
No, I'd make that motion to allow that the Parks and Rec Committee have an up to $500 expenditures to add or amend to the Night to Unite. And Joe, you were at the Parks meeting. Sorry, that's my motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Joe, with the Parks meeting coming up next Thursday, will you be able to attend that meeting? I know you're part of that as a... Yes. Okay. So some more discussion could happen then with the Parks Committee of more direction, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. Easy enough? All right. Old business?
We didn't actually vote on that motion,
Yeah.
did we?
Oh, yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Okay, day. Sorry, my computer locked on me. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, that moves on to, Madam Mayor, back in, was it May, the council discussed moving from, away from doing a Board of Appeals and Equalization annually for property valuation appeals, and moving to open book. Again, what open book would do is we'd schedule time, notice that time that the assessor would be here at City Hall, and people can come in, make appointments, and just meet directly with the assessor, and kind of, instead of having it in front of you, they just go directly to the assessor, make their appeals, and then there's a recommendation made, or changes made, and that goes to the County Board of Appeals. And the council said they would like to do that, and do that for 3 years. As a reminder, to do that, you have to pass a resolution stating that you want to do that and for what the duration is. However, for state statute, before you can actually adopt that resolution, you do have to conduct a public hearing. So we did notice a public hearing on the attached resolution 08-2023. So before you can vote to, or consider and vote to adopt this resolution, you do need to open and conduct a public hearing on the matter. So I recommend that you would conduct that public hearing
When?
now.
Oh,
So you need to formally open the public hearing and conduct a public hearing on resolution 08-2023.
okay.
Yeah.
So are you making a motion for that?
No, you have to.
Sorry, it
open
is
a public
09, not
I'm opening a
08.
public
I had it wrong in
hearing.
there, but 09.
Okay, so tell me what I'm supposed
So
to.
it's you're opening a public hearing, and sorry, the memo has it incorrectly. It should be conduct a public hearing on resolution 09-2023, a resolution authorizing the transition to an open book format of appeals of property valuations.
Okay, so I formally open a hearing on 09-2023 on the transition to open book for appeals of property valuations.
So at this time, you can invite anybody up who would like to.
I did not know I was doing this tonight. All right, I would like to invite anybody up to discuss it,
Make comments.
make comments. Nobody? Okay, I will close the hearing, and is that it?
And now you can consider the resolution, Madam Mayor.
All right.
So hearing nobody coming up, just to kind of recap again, so as we all are well aware, we sat through the appeal process for the valuations. What we kind of discussed was while people presented their cases to us, we were not really the experts, if you would. The county staff that was here would really kind of listen and hear what the appeal is, and they would either give facts why they supported the valuation, or they heard new facts that might have not been brought up during the inspection to adjust the valuation. And so as a board, even the previous year, we felt that we were not the best qualified applicants to be discussing it, as we've took most of the time the county's recommendations going forward. So this is essentially taking us out of the mix, letting them still come to the county. They still have the right to appeal. They still have the right to go to the county and appeal with the county. So that's where we're at.
All right, would that still be held here, though?
Yes, so
Okay.
we would still hold it here in City Hall. Again, it would be noticed, just like Board of Appeals is noticed, that they would be holding open book at this date, at this time. People can come in to discuss their valuations. They can schedule appointments or just walk in, and then they just get in line. And then also, I think it's also one reminder as well, this resolution as discussed we would do open book for years 24, 25, and 26. After that, the council would come back, reconsider if you want to keep doing open book or go back to Board of Appeals. If you want to keep it open book, you just have to pass another resolution at that time.
Okay.
So
that
this is
makes
just
sense.
limited, this is just for the next 3 years,
Okay, no, that makes sense.
indefinite.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think that I felt like we weren't really needed in that process, so.
I would ask, did Mr. Councilmember Steve or Brad make any comments on this to staff?
No, I received no comments.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they felt the same way, though.
Okay.
That's what I recall from the prior meetings.
Yep.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 09-2023.
A second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, budget kickoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the last meeting, we discussed the budget calendar, and the council adopted the 2024 budget calendar, with the exception of the budget kickoff workshop. Originally, we had the proposed date at that time was, I think it was July 18th. Councilmember Scott said he would not be, pretty much he was unavailable the month of July, and you asked me to go back and kind of work with him and try to figure out a date. So that's what we're kind of here to do, for you to formally set a date. In communication with him, the date that he provided as available, as kind of the earliest available, was Tuesday, August 1st. I do want to point out that that is Night to Unite. So if you did choose to do a workshop on August 1st, it would need to be during the day, so we'll be not competing with Night to Unite. August 1st, I'd also ask that would be like the absolute latest we want to hold this workshop. Kind of give you an idea of what we're going to discuss at this workshop. I kind of went and created my list in preparation. This is kind of the intention for me for this is the high level stuff, the kind of the bigger items that we need some direction on as we're building the preliminary budget. So we're not going to get into all the weeds of, how much each line item is going up or changing. It's more of big items. We discuss things, kind of what's on my list right now is brief discussions on, say, Bushman Road Phase 2. Again, we're getting to the point where we're getting to the end of Phase 1. We'll talk about Bushman Road a little bit later. But Phase 2 right now is planned for 2024. Again, that's a brief discussion. Phase 2, when it is and how much we think it's going to be. Sewer expansion, we're getting, I think we should have the sewer expansion study probably end of August. So we aren't ready to have that yet, but we do already kind of know what next steps would be once that's done, so we'll want to discuss those, so the council's kind of aware of that. City code, that's been an item that's been brought up multiple times. Streets, so someone has some discussion about some internal organizational changes, software, and then obviously the kind of the big one would be City Hall. So those are kind of what we're planning on discussing at that workshop. So then get some direction so we know how to implement certain things into the actual preliminary budget, that we're having that discussion of the actual preliminary budget on August 15th. So August 1st would be the absolute latest I want to have that meeting, because that really would only give me about a week, 10 days to get everything put into the preliminary budget, so I can have, that out in advance of the workshop on the 15th.
And we're voting on budget in September, so.
The preliminary, correct. So I will say I will just add as well, as you're looking at dates, kind of going back to our original dates, the 17th, 18th, I did find out this week that when it comes to the City Hall discussion, you did hire Baker Tilly to do a full financial analysis of kind of what would impacts be depending on if you did remodel versus build new on taxes and our finances, that whole deep dive financial analysis. They'll be ready for a workshop, and they actually will be in the Lakes area on the 17th. They'll actually be attending the Brainerd Council meeting on the 17th. So I did reach out to them. They said if we wanted to hold a workshop on the 17th or the 18th during the day on either day, they would just, they would either come up early or stay the night and stay. Obviously, they'll come up another time too, but just wanted to let you know they will already be in town that day.
And they'd be able to come if we held it that day.
Yes, if we held it during the day on the 17th, they'd be able to come, or if we held it during the day on the 18th, they would just stay the night and come on the 18th.
Just to clarify, are you asking then for potentially 2 workshops? One for the 17th, 18th for just Baker Tilly for?
Nope, this is for the kickoff. So I just want to let you know that they'll be up here. If you choose a different date, like August 1st, they'll come up then too, but.
You're talking July, though.
I'm talking July. It might just save on some travel costs because they'll already be up here.
Well, I'm fine with August 1st at 1 o'clock. What would our estimated time frame be? 2-3 hours?
Probably at least 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours I would anticipate.
Okay.
Is it 2 or 3? Because I would need to know.
Plan for 3 then.
Yep.
Thank you.
1 o'clock on the 1st would work for me.
Me too.
I can make it work, yeah.
Can you make that work? Mm-hmm. So 1 to 4 estimated.
1 to 4 on August. We'll say start time of
Start time 1 o'clock.
1 p.m. on on 8/1.
What time does Night to Unite start? What is that? What time does the?
6:30.
6.
I think in the past
Yes, it started at 6.
Okay.
So we have a little bit of a break time in between the two.
Yep.
So, okay, 1 PM on August 1. Can I get a,
I will make a motion to set the first budget workshop for Tuesday, August 1st at 1 PM.
Second?
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Can you please send out a calendar?
yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, staff reports?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a few things. Bushman, going back to, we kind of talking about Bushman. Just a reminder, we do have our open house for Bushman Road, the alignments, potential alignments on July 26th. That's Wednesday, July 26th from 6 PM to 8 PM. We'll be sending out formal information next week. So we'll be getting on our social media, all those. We've created kind of a project, neighborhood project area. Everyone within that bubble will be getting a direct mailer. We'll be putting on our website, updating our website and everything. At that meeting is kind of when we will be unveiling the actual proposed alignments. So that's where we encourage people to come to the open house to see the alignments. Otherwise, you have to wait another day or two afterwards before we put them on the website. So that's the plan, is so from 6 to 8. It is kind of a come and go type open house like we did with City Hall. So there is no like at 6 PM a formal presentation. Paul Sandy and team with WSB will be here, staff will be here, and they'll have bulletin boards and not only bulletin, but poster boards and such with the different alignments. Ask any questions the public has about them, what the differences are, cost, things like that. So that'll be on the 26th. And then we'll probably have a more formal presentation from Paul kind of about it at the next council meeting as well. But July 26th, Wednesday, July 26th.
Are we sending out
16.
direct mailers to the residents that live?
Yes, so we've created a bubble of everyone that not just on Bushman, but anyone that uses Bushman to access their property. They're going to be getting direct mailers next week.
Okay, perfect.
Or the direct mailers will probably be going out next week, so.
Okay.
And then again, we'll be using our social media and our website and everything to get the word out as well. Planning Commission next week, we just want to let you know that there, as Councilmember Jensen isn't here, we do have a date change. So at the last meeting, the Planning Commission did vote to move the meeting. Normally they meet on the second Tuesday. They're actually going to meet on Wednesday. That would be the 12th? Wednesday the 12th at 7 PM.
Okay.
They chose to do that. Jerry is unfortunately out, so by moving in one day allowed obviously Jerry to be there for the meeting. So Planning Commission next week is meeting on Wednesday, not on Tuesday. Also, our butterfly release is next Saturday. So our new butterfly release at 11 a.m. at the cemetery. And always please come early. We have some events and things going on. And then the last thing, a reminder about sewer billing. Back in April, the council moved to go to billing, changing to billing in the rear. So we're just doing a reminder of having some letters we're going to be sending out probably early next week, reminding people that you aren't getting a bill in July. We had a letter in there for your last bill that you had in April, and we're letting you also know, again, you're not getting a bill. So if you don't see a bill in July, it's okay. You're not getting a bill. Your next bill you will get will be in October, and that will be for July, August, and September. So if you don't get a bill, it's okay. You're not getting a bill. You'll get your bill in October. And those are the things that I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right. Any reports from Parks and Rec or?
I do have a report. Parks and Rec had their meeting, almost a month ago. They're starting to work on a new master plan and having some discussion. One of the items, though, that has been discussed in the past, and it did come back up again, is signage for our parks. Specifically, no smoking and no drinking on public lands. This includes the parklands, the swimming beach, the disc golf course, the fishing pier, anywhere that the public can attain to. So staff was directed on getting some numbers together for them. I did have a chance to get some information from preliminary, and as you know, Parks and Rec, whenever they make a recommendation, they don't have the authorization to purchase. They always have to recommend to the council and ask for funds, and then we can expense it. Since this has been a discussion that has been coming up, and it's one that I support, I'm wondering if I'd like to make a motion to approve. The expenses came roughly at about $250 to get 12 signs. That's pending the Parks and Rec approving said signs. So I'm actually asking to just kind of expedite that to approve a up to $500 expense for no smoking, no alcohol signage for our public lands should the Parks Committee decide to want to move forward. It just kind of fast tracks that another, essentially almost a month that staff can order those. So I'm making a motion to approve up to $500 expense should the Parks and Rec decide to purchase the no smoking, no alcohol signs.
I think that's fine. I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. I would like to know, Joe, how much has Breezy really dealt with alcohol and public spaces? Like, have there been issues, or what has been your experience? I know it's a fear. I don't know if it's actually been something that is been an issue, but.
Off the top of my head, we've had, in the last 6 months to a year, we've had 2 calls reporting alcohol containers in garbage cans in and around public spaces such as the disc golf course and stuff. We regularly patrol the city public beach, and when we see alcohol there, because it's posted there and there's actually an ordinance about public beach regulations, we have people remove alcohol containers from the beach. Also, there is a standing public ordinance in the city of Breezy Point that says it's a misdemeanor to possess alcohol on public lands in Breezy Point. So as far as problems, you know, our calls for service, that what I just kind of talked about is reflective of what we deal with.
Okay. So no active issues with like public intoxication or anything like that? It's just been more of what you found in the garbage cans?
What's been reported, you know, at the public beach, occasionally we'll have people on the public beach after hours intoxicated, and we deal with that stuff. You know, sometimes that leads to arrests for driving while impaired. Sometimes it leads to other enforcement action. But no, in the last, you know, in last memory, I don't have any recollection of like an active disturbance or anything at the public beach or other public parks.
Okay, that's all. I was curious if there had actually been anything. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Do you have anything?
No, I mean, we have a fire meeting next week to kind of, I think, solidify the budget process for that. And then I think we will be moving to quarterly meetings then after the next one. So we, for the first year of the fire district, we had to meet once a month. And once that year is up, we can move to quarterly meetings. So hopefully we have a quorum at that one. And so we can move to quarterly meetings.
Awesome. And then, yeah, I think the only thing that I have, the Fire Relief Association was nice enough to give us up to 200 chairs for the butterfly release. So there will no longer be limited seating. Everyone will get seating, which is super nice. And then also to Happy Dancing Turtle, which you didn't know who that was. Do you know who that is? The nonprofit that
I've heard of them.
So
I know
they're-
they do camps and stuff.
Yeah, they're going to come to the butterfly release from 10:30 to 11, and they're going to be, kids can dress up in costumes, like butterfly costumes. There's going to be like butterfly wheels. So we got them to come to the event. Otherwise, yeah, that's all I got. Do you have anything else? On the fire
I don't.
district? No?
No fire.
All right. We will move on to the agenda forecast. So this is actually something that we added from the workshop. One of the things that we discussed at the workshop was having more of the ability to understand what's coming down the pipeline. So if you go to a city council meeting, sometimes, we'll hear testimony or people talking, we have to make decisions at night. It's kind of nice that we can say, okay, well, what's actually going to come up? What decisions are going to be made in the next couple meetings? So we've decided that now, at the end of our council meetings, we are going to talk about what we want to see on at the next council meeting, or what we want to see in 2 months or 3 months, just so we can give residents more of a forecast of like what is to come. So that is something that I think we're all excited about a little bit too, just because having that insight is good. Do you have anything to add on to that discussion that we had at the workshop?
No, I've nothing to add about what the discussion was, no.
I don't.
Okay. So I think at the next. we'll
So I
just
have a
talk
whole
about-
list
Yeah,
of
I was
kind
going
of-
to say, if you want to go ahead and.
So again, and as I said at the workshop, kind of give you what we know. Things can change, obviously added, things can come up that one or more items might get removed, but kind of the things we do know that we anticipate coming before the council on what will be Monday, August 7th, is the consideration of the Planning Commission's recommendation regarding the rezoning of the disc golf course parking lot, as well as discussion, council intends to have some discussion on the design of that parking lot. And we'll just let you know, one of the things we're planning to bring to you at that meeting is we had Widseth go out and actually, now that the parking lot is pretty much, it's in the shape that it would generally be. It's not done, but at least they went out to survey it, so you can have a pictorial and really understand what you're working with as you're talking about design. And because if you go out there right now and look at it, that is not the end result. There's setbacks and things. So we had them out there to survey it to kind of help you better understand at that meeting kind of what we're working with. The Pequot Lake School District has requested to be on the council agenda for that meeting to make a presentation on the Safe Routes to School plan that was just completed. So they got a grant to work with Region 5 this past spring and kind of winter to be working on a Safe Routes to School plan. So that has been completed. So I know Superintendent Stumpf and then Tad Erickson with Region 5 intend to be here to kind of discuss, give you the Safe Routes to School plan, and then also ask you to kind of adopt the plan from a city's perspective as well. We plan to bring back the event permit for our parks and public spaces, communications plan, the procedures and code of conduct policy that you discussed at your last workshop. Probably be getting a bigger update on Bushman Road, especially after the workshop. And then the last thing likely be there is the Fire District 2024 budget. While that goes in part of our budget, per the agreement, once the fire board sets their budget, which will be in this next Monday, it then goes to each council to accept that budget and to approve that budget. So we kind of do it a little separate, but ahead of our budget. So council accepts that budget, and then we just move it our piece right into our budget. So that, Madam Mayor, members of the council, that's what we've got right now for our August 7th council meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, it is nice to hear what's kind of coming down the pipeline. Awesome. Well, do I have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That is our shortest council meeting in 2023.